To El Mirada, one of the first to jump out. Bonfire slow to get going. Out very quickly as General Nediym goes straight to the front on settling down in advance there of Encounter, who began well, and Umrum is in the firing line early. And they're followed closely a bit further back by Dennis Uria as they race up the hill. Now Dennis Uria on the outside and General Nediym together. About a length in advance of Encounter, followed by Umrum in the box seat. Just in behind them, Tauke as they race over the top of the hill. A length further back is Gold Guru on the outside of El Mirada. 1.5 further back, Mustang Red. And they were being followed by Schubert. A length and a half, McFlirt on the outside of Bradman. 2 lengths away, Knowledge is second last. And Bonfires is back at the tail of the field. A well-strung outfielder as they go along inside the final 1,000. Dennis Uria, 3/4 of a length on General Nediym. 4 lengths further back, Encounter, a length to Umrum. 2 lengths away, then is Tauke, a length El Mirada. 2.5 lengths to Gold Guru, being followed by Schubert. 2 lengths to Mustang Red, followed by McFlirt, who's a long way off the leader. So is Bradman at that point, followed by Bonfires and Knowledge. And about 15 lengths covering the field, coming up past the 600-metre mark. General Nediym has hit the front in the Guineas. General Nediym, the leader, by a half length in advance of Dennis Uria. 6 lengths away, Encounter being niggled out. They're followed by Tauke under pressure. Umrum is not responding at the moment. He's losing ground, being passed by Gold Guru and Schubert as they're making the home turn. General Nediym is the leader. Got away by a couple of lengths in advance of Dennis Uria. Tauke is coming down the outside with a strong run, followed by Encounter. And back in behind them, Gold Guru and Schubert. General Nediym, the leader at the 200-metre mark, is clear, a length and a half. Tauke. Encounter is struggling, and they're followed down the outside by Gold Guru. General Nediym still the leader with 100 metres left to go. Now Encounter in the clear is coming at him. Encounter hits the front. Encounter wins from Schubert and nose away third. General Nediym, followed by Tauke. They're followed next home by Gold Guru, and further back is McFlirt, followed by El Mirada. Bonfires, followed by Mustang Red. Further back, Dennis Uria, followed by Bradman, and Knowledge is a long way back at the tail of the field, and a bad last there looks to be.
Well, there's one thing we know for sure: General Nediym can run a mile.
Most definitely, certainly can, John. And if he hadn't been taken on all the way, would have definitely fought the finish, literally head and head. It would have been a bob of the heads.
You'd have got home, I think, Simon.
Oh.
Yeah, look, the 3 horses in that finish, General Nediym, I thought his run was absolutely fantastic. Schubert, you can't take anything away from him, and I think pace on in the Cox Plate, pace on in the Victoria Derby, and he's going to be right in both finishes. And, of course, the winner, how good is he? He made all those mistakes. He got on his wrong leg. I thought he was completely uncomfortable. I said to Ken on the telecast yesterday, I tapped him on the shoulder, I said, this has got no hope. Yeah. And that was at the 800 metres. Now, for a horse still to make, in a class race like that, still make mistakes and get home, how good is he?
That's right. Shane, shades of octagonal in a way. He's got that ability to lift when the chips are down, hasn't he?
Well, he's had 4 runs over a mile, John, and he's won on every occasion. And the thing about octagonal is he couldn't win this race. And his form going into the Cox Plate is nowhere near as good as Encounter's. But, of course, he could stay. We don't know whether Encounter will stay. But the way he's finishing his races off, and if you go back to the Champagne Stakes, he found the line very, very strongly as a 2-year-old in a mile. And he found the line yesterday, and he should have got beat yesterday. And for him to win, it was an outstanding trial for the Cox Plate.
Would you agree, though, that everything Encounter did, Schubert did as much, if not a bit more?
No, because Schubert was further back, and you got to remember there was a wind blowing and horses on the fence weren't really happy yesterday in some races, and that's why General Nediym's run was very good. And I got on the wrong leg, and my horse is going to improve a lot more than Schubert will, and he's probably already had a better preparation going to a Cox Plate than Schubert. So I don't totally agree with Schubert is a better horse than Encounter for a Cox Plate.
Now, we let Simon back with a lot of the beaten brigade after the Guineas, commencing with Danny Nikolic, who rode Umrum.
Danny Umrum, he was a beaten horse a long way from home, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was gone at the 700, Simon. Travelled okay. Got to the 700 and asked him to quicken a little bit, just try and keep Encounter inside me. When I asked him to quicken, his whole action went, and he felt sore behind, and I was gone 600.
When I straightened up, I was under a bit of pressure, and you know, I think the horse is just a little bit immature at this stage, and hopefully with a little bit of a break and next time in he can graduate and find that few lengths that he needs to.
I was sort of beaten for speed early, so I had to really you know, ask him to go to the line pretty hard, but it was a nice run.
He sat back off him. He seems to have lost his turn of foot. He may be a Derby horse.
Well, that's the way he raced today. Even last start, he just seems to has lost that speed. So, you know, I think you've certainly got to head towards a Derby with him now.
Brian, the General, he was a little annoyed early, wasn't he? Things didn't really go his way.
No, well, it drove us mad, that Dennis Uria, but obviously he was there for a reason and he did his job, I guess.
If Dennis Uria didn't annoy you, you believe he would have won well and
I think he would have won. You know, he was still going to win 20 metres out, and they just swamped us the last little bit. So without that horse there annoying us, he would have won.
no doubt about him running the mile, is there?
He'll get it, you know, when that sort of thing doesn't happen to him.
Well, Simon Marshall also caught up with the General's trainer, Bill Mitchell, and asked the trainer how much did Dana Saria affect the prospects of General Nediym.
Oh, I think there's no risk. If he was left alone, he probably could have won the race. You know, if he could have led him by 2 or 3 lengths and had a bit more, you know, we would be able to save himself up a bit more. But he is a horse that likes to get racing, and when another horse comes along, it makes it hard for York to pull him in behind. And, you know, he'd rather be a free-rolling sort of horse. Yeah, disappointing that horse that probably had no hope in the race ended up driving us mad.
Good on you, Billy Mitchell, and hurry into the way that race was run, or the tactics on Dana Saria?
Well, not that I know of, and I've read nothing of it this morning. So basically, it's all clear from the race. But Gay, I suppose you'd have a point on that with gossips a time ago.
Yes, well, in Australia, they don't allow it, the stewards. Overseas, of course, they declare a pacemaker, and I said this in my article the other day, that, you know, overseas they declare a pacemaker, they say the horse is going up to make the pace, and punters can bet accordingly, and often are pleased to know the horse is going to be the pacemaker. It's not the same in Australia. But then again, if the rider of that horse thought it was best suited there, if it had won, you know, everyone would say, well, aren't they a genius?
Yeah.
John?
Well, it's a matter of interpretation, isn't it, between stewards in different states?
Yeah, correct. I mean, they are very different, and I suppose just getting off that point, we saw 2 different trainers yesterday, didn't we? Bill Mitchell unhappy, and we saw Clarry Connors very happy. I caught up with him after the race.
You and Shane Dye going to celebrate this together? I think you'd be getting on famously today, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he even gave me a kiss on the cheek here. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a lovely little pecker on the cheek.
You'd be getting a blown-up photo of it?
No, thank you.
Clarry, well done. What's next for him before we go?
He'll run in the Cox Plate, and you know, if he wins or performs well and we're happy with the horse, the Derby's the thought. If it looks like a race he could win, you know. But I don't really think he's a 2,500 metre horse. But if it's an easy race, we'll try and send him around in it.
And the Rajah of Warwick Farm strikes again in the Group 1. Shane Dye at Sandown, you had something to say about the tactics in the Guineas?
Yeah, well, the stewards got it right. They didn't open an investigation. They didn't need to. Dana Saria always goes hard in races. Greg Hall told me before the race he wouldn't be able to stop it, Jimmy. General could have come back off them if you could have stopped it. When you're on a front runner, John, you're not going to get the race run always the whole way easy. Al Master did 2 years ago and he won, but he couldn't this year, General Nediym. And the stewards of Melbourne have really got these races going good and run right with their inquiries.
Shane, we've got a photo that I'd like you to feast your eyes upon in